Hey, welcome to Chat Easy.
Yeah, English without the stress.
Hey everyone! So, I have to tell you something that happened last week. I was talking with my neighbour and she asked me, "Do you..." And then she just stopped. I stood there confused, like, do I what? She forgot to finish her question and I had no idea what to say.
Oh no, that must have felt so awkward. I used to mix up do and make all the time when I was learning English. I would say things like, I make my homework, instead of, I do my homework. It was embarrassing, but everyone does it at first.
Exactly. And here's the thing. Do is one of those tiny words that appears everywhere in English, but nobody really explains it properly. When I first started learning, I realized do can mean so many different things depending on where it sits in a sentence. It felt really strange.
I totally understand that feeling. Today, we want to talk about do in a way that actually makes sense, not like a grammar book, just two friends helping you see the patterns. And honestly, once you understand how do works, everyday conversations suddenly feel so much easier and more natural.
So, Blake, what did you do last weekend? Anything fun?
Oh, I went to this little market near my apartment. They had fresh bread and vegetables. It was nice and quiet. I bought some tomatoes and just walked around for a while. It felt good to be outside, you know?
Wait, did you notice what you just said? You said, "What did you do?" and I didn't even think about it. We just used a form of do without even realizing it. That's so funny.
Oh, wow, you're right. That's exactly what makes it tricky. It feels automatic when you're speaking, but then when you stop to think about it, it gets confusing. Like, why did I say did and not just what you do? See? It's strange.
Totally. So, how was your morning today? Did you have a good breakfast?
I did not have time for breakfast, actually. I woke up late and just had some water. Wait, I just said did not again. It keeps appearing everywhere.
Exactly. Do shows up in questions, in negatives, and even when you want to add emphasis to something. It's like a little helper word that sneaks into so many places. You probably use it 20 times a day without noticing.
I remember one time a friend asked me, "Do you like tea?" And I answered, "Yes, I like." It felt so awkward because something was missing. I should have said, "Yes, I do." But in that moment, I forgot.
Oh, that happens to everyone. And honestly, little moments like that are actually helpful. They show you where the gaps are. It's not embarrassing, it's just part of learning. The thing is, do is not just one thing. It has different jobs in English, and once you see those jobs clearly, it all starts to make sense.
So true. Hey, if you're watching this, think about a time when you felt unsure about using do. Maybe you forgot it in a question, or you weren't sure if you needed it. Share that moment in the comments. We'd love to hear your story.
So, when people start learning English, they usually see do as a regular verb first. Like, I do my homework, or she does the dishes. It's the version that feels the most straightforward.
Right. This version of do means to perform an action or complete something. It's about getting things done, like, I do exercise every morning, or he does his job carefully. These are real actions you can see or measure.
Exactly. And this is the version of do that people often compare with make, which gets confusing. I remember mixing them up all the time. I would say things that sounded logical to me, but were completely wrong in English.
Oh, I did that too. Here's the thing. Do is usually about actions, tasks, or activities, but make is about creating or producing something. So, I make breakfast means you create the food from ingredients, but I do the dishes means you complete the task of washing them.
Yes. I used to say make homework because in my mind I was creating something, right? But it doesn't work that way in English. It felt so frustrating at first because I couldn't find the rule that explained it perfectly.
I totally understand that feeling. The truth is, there's no perfect rule, it's just patterns you notice over time. And the more you listen and read, the more those patterns start to feel natural. You stop translating and just know which one sounds right.
That's such a relief to hear. Okay, so now let's talk about do as a helper verb, because this is where things get really interesting. A lot of the time, do doesn't carry its own meaning. It just helps form questions and negatives instead.
Right. Let me give you an example. Do you like coffee? In this sentence, do doesn't mean anything by itself. It's not describing an action, it just helps turn the sentence into a question. Without it, the sentence would sound strange or incomplete.
Exactly. And the same thing happens in negatives, like I do not understand. Here, do helps make the sentence negative. This version of do feels invisible because you're not really thinking about it. You just use it to shape the sentence the right way.
That's such a good way to put it. And here's another thing. In positive sentences, you usually don't need do unless you want to add emphasis. Like, if someone says, you don't like coffee, and you want to prove them wrong, you can say, I do like coffee, to make your point stronger.
Oh, I see. So it's like giving extra weight to your words. Let me try. I do want to learn English. It sounds so much more determined, doesn't it?
Yes, that's exactly how it works. You just made your intention crystal clear. It's one of those little tricks that native speakers use without even thinking about it. But once you notice it, you can use it too.
I love that. Now, here's something else I noticed. Do changes depending on the subject and the tense. In present tense, you use do with I, you, we, and they, but you use does with he, she, and it.
Right, so I do my work, but she does her work. The verb changes to match the subject, and in past tense it becomes did for everyone, no matter the subject. I did my homework, they did their homework. It stays the same.
You know what? That actually makes past tense a bit easier. You don't have to worry about changing the form depending on who you're talking about. It's just did for everyone. One less thing to stress over.
Exactly. Small details like this can actually reduce stress once you notice them. It's like finding a shortcut you didn't know existed. English has a lot of those hidden shortcuts.
So true. Okay, now let's talk about short answers, because this is another place where do appears a lot. In English, people rarely answer questions with just yes or no.
Right. If someone asks, do you like tea? Most people say, yes, I do, or no, I do not. Using do in the answer makes it sound complete and natural. Without it, the response feels a bit abrupt or unfinished.
Yes. When I first started learning English, I would just say yes or no, and people would sometimes wait for more. It felt so awkward because I didn't know what they were waiting for. But once I started adding I do or I don't, conversations felt so much smoother.
That happens to so many learners. It's not something textbooks always explain clearly, but it's one of those habits that makes you sound more fluent. And the good news is, once you build the habit, it becomes automatic. You don't even have to think about it anymore.
That's encouraging. You know, I sometimes wonder why English uses do so much when a lot of other languages don't. Like, why does English need this extra word all the time?
I used to think about that too. Here's what I learned. English doesn't change verb endings as much as other languages do, so do helps show the structure of the sentence instead. It signals whether something is a question, a negative, or emphasis. Without it, things could get confusing.
That makes sense. Like, without do, a question like you like tea could sound unclear or too casual. But do you like tea is immediately clear. It's structured, it's polite, it works.
Exactly. Do gives the sentence a clear signal that it's a question or a negative. It organizes everything so the listener knows what to expect. It's like a little helper that keeps the conversation running smoothly.
I really like that way of thinking about it. A little helper that organizes everything. Oh, and there's another place where do shows up, in commands or suggestions, like do your best or do not worry.
Yes, those are fixed expressions where do feels strong and direct. It carries a kind of firmness or encouragement. You also hear it in polite requests, like, do you mind if I sit here? In these cases, do makes the sentence feel softer and more respectful.
I never thought about do having a role in politeness before, but now that you mention it, it really does change the tone. You mind if I sit here sounds too direct, almost rude, but do you mind if I sit here sounds much better.
Exactly. And that's because do works quietly in the background, shaping tone without drawing attention to itself. It's doing a lot of work, but you barely notice it. That's what makes it so powerful.
Wow. Okay, so here's something I want you to think about if you're watching this. Think about a sentence you use often in your daily life, maybe something you say at work or at home or with friends. Does that sentence include do without you even realizing it?
That's such a good question. Even something simple like, what do you think, uses do to form the question. It's kind of amazing how one small word can do so many different things. Wait, I just used do in that sentence too.
See, that's the whole point. It's everywhere. And once you start noticing it, you can't stop seeing it. Some questions with do are so common they become automatic, like how do you do? Or how do you say this in English?
Those are perfect examples. People use them without thinking, which is exactly the goal. The more you hear and use these patterns, the less you have to translate them in your mind. You just say them. They flow.
Right, and that's when English starts to feel more natural. Instead of like a puzzle you're solving every time you speak, it stops being work and starts being just conversation.
I love that. So to wrap this up, do is not really one word with one meaning. It's more like a tool that changes depending on what job it's doing in the sentence. Sometimes it's a main verb, sometimes it's a helper, sometimes it's adding emphasis or politeness.
Exactly. Whether it's forming questions, making negatives, adding emphasis, or just completing a task, do is almost always there. It's working behind the scenes in so many ways, and once you start noticing its different roles, everything clicks into place a bit more.
So true. Pause for a second and think. Which use of do feels most familiar to you, and which one still feels a little strange? There's no right answer, just notice where you are right now.
Okay, so while we were talking, we used a lot of words that might be helpful to look at more closely. Let's go over some of them together, just to make sure everything feels clear.
I think that's a great idea. Sometimes seeing these words with simple explanations makes them stick better in your mind. And honestly, these are words you'll see in a lot of English conversations, not just grammar lessons.
Totally. So let me start with the word perform. It means to do an action or complete something, like I perform my duties at work. It's basically another way of saying I do my work, but it sounds a bit more formal.
Exactly. It's a bit more professional sounding than just saying do, but the meaning is really similar. You hear it in work settings a lot, or when someone is talking about responsibilities. It just carries a slightly different tone.
Right. Now let's talk about task. A task is a piece of work or an activity you need to finish. Like washing dishes is a simple task. It's something specific you have to complete. And people often say do a task to describe finishing it.
Yes, and task is one of those words that pairs naturally with do. You do a task, you don't make a task. That would sound very strange. This is why noticing these pairings really helps when you're learning.
So true. Okay, next is helper, which we use to describe how do works in questions and negatives. A helper is something or someone that assists or supports. It's pretty straightforward. If someone helps you carry boxes, they're your helper.
Right, and in grammar, a helper verb is a verb that works with another verb to form tenses or questions. For example, in the sentence, "Do you like tea?" the word do is the helper verb. It's not the main action, it's just there to support the sentence structure.
Exactly. And thinking of it as a helper makes it so much easier to understand its role. It's not trying to be the star of the sentence, it's just quietly doing its job in the background. Kind of like a good assistant.
I love that comparison. Okay, now let's talk about emphasis. Emphasis means giving special importance or strength to something. When you say, "I do like coffee," you're adding emphasis to show you really mean it. It's stronger than just saying, "I like coffee."
Yes, emphasis is so useful when someone doubts you or when you want to make your feelings really clear. You can actually hear the difference in tone when someone uses emphasis. It makes the sentence feel more powerful, more definite.
Completely agree. Next up is subject. In grammar, the subject is the person or thing that does the action in a sentence. For example, in "she does her homework," the subject is she. She's the one doing the homework.
Right, and understanding the subject helps you choose the right form of do, whether it's do, does, or did. It's one of those small details that actually makes a big difference when you're trying to speak correctly. Once you get used to checking the subject, it becomes much easier.
Absolutely. Now let's talk about tense. Tense refers to the time when an action happens, past, present, or future. In present tense, you use do or does, but in past tense, you use did. It's all about timing.
Exactly. And recognizing the tense helps you use the right form automatically. It takes practice, I'm not going to lie, but once you notice the pattern, it becomes so much easier. You stop having to think so hard about it every single time.
Yes, and that's when it starts to feel natural. Okay, next is negative. A negative sentence is one that expresses that something is not true or did not happen, like, "I do not like spicy food." That's a negative sentence.
Right, and do is essential for forming negatives in English. You can't just say, "I not like." That sounds incomplete and grammatically wrong. You need do not or does not to make the sentence work properly.
Exactly. It's one of those rules that feels a bit strange at first, especially if your native language works differently. But once you build the habit, it becomes second nature. You stop thinking about it and just do it.
For sure. Now, let's talk about polite. Polite means showing good manners or respect. Questions like, "Do you mind?" are considered polite ways to ask for permission. They sound softer and more respectful than just saying, "Can I sit here?"
Yes, politeness often involves using helper verbs like do to soften requests. It's amazing how small changes in wording can make such a big difference in how people receive your message. It can turn a demand into a gentle question.
Totally. Okay, next is automatic, which means happening naturally without thinking about it. When something becomes automatic, you do it smoothly and quickly. Like after practice, using do in questions becomes automatic. You just say it without translating in your head.
Exactly. And that's the goal for any language learner. You want things to feel automatic, so you can focus on the conversation, not the grammar rules. That's when speaking English starts to feel less stressful and more enjoyable.
So true. And finally, let's talk about structure. Structure means the way something is organized or built. Do helps create the structure of English sentences, especially in questions and negatives. It gives the sentence a clear shape that listeners recognize immediately.
Right. Understanding structure makes it easier to form sentences correctly. It's like knowing the blueprint of a building. Once you see how it's put together, you can build it yourself. And once the structure feels clear, speaking becomes so much less stressful.
Absolutely. These words might seem simple on their own, but they really help you understand how English works. And the more you use them, the more confident you'll feel when you're speaking or writing.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit.
Imagine you're at a cafe and you want to order something. Blake, what would you say?
I'd probably ask, do you have tea? Or maybe, do you have any pastries left? Something like that. It feels pretty natural to me now, but I remember when I first started, I would forget the do and just say, you have tea, which sounded strange.
Right. But do you have tea is perfect because do makes the question clear and polite. And in real life, people use questions with do constantly. Like, do you accept cards? Or do you know what time it closes? These are questions you hear every single day.
Yes, and they feel simple once you get used to the pattern, but they're incredibly useful. I mean, if you can ask these kinds of questions comfortably, you can navigate so many situations. Going to a store, asking for directions, talking to a neighbor, it all becomes easier.
Exactly. And even something like, do you need help, can make a big difference when you're trying to connect with someone or offer support. It's a small question, but it opens the door to conversation. It shows you care.
That's so true. Now, think about talking with coworkers or classmates. Questions like, do you understand this? Or do you want to work together come up all the time. And using do correctly in these moments makes you sound more confident and clear.
Absolutely. It also helps you avoid misunderstandings because the structure is obvious. When the structure is clear, people respond more easily, which makes the whole conversation smoother. Nobody has to guess what you're asking. They just know.
Right. Okay, now let's think about declining something politely. Like if someone invites you to an event but you can't go, what would you say?
I might say, I do not think I can join today. Or if it's about food, I do not eat meat. These are polite ways to express a boundary or preference without sounding harsh or rude.
Yes, do not helps you be clear about your choice. In social situations, being able to say, I do not, gives you control over your decisions. You're not making excuses, you're just being honest in a respectful way.
Exactly. And it shows respect because you're being direct. People appreciate that. It's better than being vague or avoiding the question, which can sometimes make things more awkward.
Totally. Now let's talk about emphasis. Imagine a friend doubts whether you enjoy running. You could say, I do enjoy it, I promise. That do adds so much weight to your words. It makes it clear you really mean it.
I love that example. That's exactly when emphasis is powerful. It shows you care about being understood and that your feelings matter. It's like standing up for yourself in a gentle way. You're not arguing, you're just being firm about your truth.
I never thought about emphasis as a way to stand up for yourself, but now it makes total sense. It's about being heard, and in conversations, that matters a lot.
It really does. Now let's think about answering questions in more formal situations, like a job interview or a meeting. Instead of just saying yes or no, you can say yes, I do, or no, I do not. It sounds more complete and professional.
Yes, I've noticed that native speakers almost always include do in their short answers. It's one of those patterns that you hear over and over once you start paying attention, and that small habit can make a big difference in how people perceive you.
Absolutely. It's one of those details that builds confidence because it makes your speech sound more natural. You feel like you're part of the conversation, not struggling to keep up. And that feeling is so important.
For sure. So if you're watching this, I want you to picture a situation where you need to ask a question or give an answer in English. Maybe it's at work, or at a store, or with a friend. Imagine using do in that moment. How does it change the flow of the conversation?
That's such a good exercise. Practicing these small structures in your mind helps prepare you for real situations. It's like rehearsing without any pressure. You get to try out the words in a safe space before you actually need them.
Exactly. It's like rehearsing a conversation in your head. And the more you imagine using do naturally, the more automatic it becomes when you actually need it. Your brain gets used to the pattern, and then one day it just flows out without effort.
Okay, so let's shift gears a little bit. Imagine you're at a cafe and you want to order something. Blake, what would you say?
I'd probably ask, do you have tea? Or maybe, do you have any pastries left? Something like that. It feels pretty natural to me now, but I remember when I first started, I would forget the do and just say, you have tea, which sounded strange.
Right, but do you have tea is perfect because do makes the question clear and polite. And in real life, people use questions with do constantly, like, do you accept cards? Or do you know what time it closes? These are questions you hear every single day.
Yes, and they feel simple once you get used to the pattern, but they're incredibly useful. I mean, if you can ask these kinds of questions comfortably, you can navigate so many situations. Going to a store, asking for directions, talking to a neighbor, it all becomes easier.
Exactly. And even something like, do you need help, can make a big difference when you're trying to connect with someone or offer support. It's a small question, but it opens the door to conversation. It shows you care.
That's so true. Now, think about talking with coworkers or classmates. Questions like, do you understand this? Or do you want to work together come up all the time? And using do correctly in these moments makes you sound more confident and clear.
Absolutely. It also helps you avoid misunderstandings because the structure is obvious. When the structure is clear, people respond more easily, which makes the whole conversation smoother. Nobody has to guess what you're asking. They just know.
Right. Okay, now let's think about declining something politely. Like if someone invites you to an event but you can't go, what would you say?
I might say, I do not think I can join today. Or if it's about food, I do not eat meat. These are polite ways to express a boundary or a preference without sounding harsh or rude.
Yes, do not helps you be clear about your choice. In social situations, being able to say, I do not, gives you control over your decisions. You're not making excuses, you're just being honest in a respectful way.
Exactly, and it shows respect because you're being direct. People appreciate that. It's better than being vague or avoiding the question, which can sometimes make things more awkward.
Totally. Now, let's talk about emphasis. Imagine a friend doubts whether you enjoy running. You could say, I do enjoy it, I promise. That do adds so much weight to your words. It makes it clear you really mean it.
I love that example. That's exactly when emphasis is powerful. It shows you care about being understood and that your feelings matter. It's like standing up for yourself in a gentle way. You're not arguing, you're just being firm about your truth.
I never thought about emphasis as a way to stand up for yourself, but now it makes total sense. It's about being heard, and in conversations, that matters a lot.
It really does. Now, let's think about answering questions in more formal situations, like a job interview or a meeting. Instead of just saying yes or no, you can say, yes, I do, or no, I do not. It sounds more complete and professional.
Yes, I've noticed that native speakers almost always include do in their short answers. It's one of those patterns that you hear over and over once you start paying attention. And that small habit can make a big difference in how people perceive you.
Absolutely. It's one of those details that builds confidence because it makes your speech sound more natural. You feel like you're part of the conversation, not struggling to keep up. And that feeling is so important.
For sure. So if you're watching this, I want you to picture a situation where you need to ask a question or give an answer in English. Maybe it's at work, or at a store, or with a friend. Imagine using do in that moment. How does it change the flow of the conversation?
That's such a good exercise. Practicing these small structures in your mind helps prepare you for real situations. It's like rehearsing without any pressure. You get to try out the words in a safe space before you actually need them.
Exactly. It's like rehearsing a conversation in your head. And the more you imagine using do naturally, the more automatic it becomes when you actually need it. Your brain gets used to the pattern, and then one day it just flows out without effort. Okay, so we've covered a lot about do today. Let me just take a breath and pull it all together. Do works as a main verb when you perform actions or tasks, like I do my homework or she does the cleaning. It's about completing something real and specific.
Right, and it also works as a helper verb to form questions, negatives, and emphasis, like do you understand, or I do not know, or I do care. Same word, totally different jobs. It's kind of amazing when you think about it.
Exactly. And the key is recognizing which job do is doing in the sentence. Once you start noticing that, it stops feeling random and starts feeling logical. It's like finding the pattern in something that seemed messy before.
Yes, and remember, do changes to does with he, she, and it in present tense, and it becomes did for everyone in past tense. These small changes matter because they keep sentences clear and correct. They might seem tiny, but they make a big difference.
Absolutely. And don't forget short answers like, yes, I do, or no, I did not. These make conversations feel more complete and natural. They're tiny habits, but they build up over time and make a real difference in how confident you sound.
So true. You know, when I think about how often do appears in daily conversations, it's kind of wild. It's in greetings, questions, polite requests, commands, and even casual small talk. You use it without even noticing most of the time.
Right, and that's exactly why it's worth paying attention to. Do is one of those foundational pieces that supports so much of what you say in English. It's kind of comforting to know that one small word can unlock so many different types of sentences.
I love that. And I just want to gently remind you, if you're watching this, that using do correctly is not about perfection. It's about practice and noticing patterns in real conversations. The more you listen, the more it sinks in.
Exactly. Every time you use do naturally, you're building a skill that will serve you in countless situations. It's a quiet kind of progress, but it's real. And one day, you'll realize you're just doing it without thinking. That's when you know it's working. Okay, so I'm curious to know something from you. Which use of do feels easiest for you? Is it using do as a main verb in sentences like, I do my work? Or is it using do as a helper in questions like, do you like this?
Or maybe it's using do for emphasis, like I do understand. Everyone has a version of do that clicks first, and it's really interesting to see which one feels most natural to different people. There's no right or wrong answer, just personal experience.
Exactly. And if you can, share a specific example. It could be a sentence you use often, or a question you hear all the time, or even a moment when you realized you were using do without thinking about it. Those little moments are actually really valuable because they show progress.
Yes, and hearing other people's experiences helps everyone learn and feel less alone in the process. It's amazing how much we can learn from each other just by sharing our small wins and struggles. That's what makes this community so special.
So please leave your thoughts in the comments below. We love reading what people share because it builds a sense of community. And if this conversation helped clarify something about do, it would be great if you could like the video or share it with someone else who might find it useful.
Yes, every like and comment helps us keep creating content like this. We really appreciate your support. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I hope you feel a bit more confident using do in your everyday English.
We'll see you in the next conversation. Take care, everyone.